So my better question getting out of unlocked from AI is, what's one thing that people should stop doing immediately in this next decade if they want to succeed? Like, what should they stop doing if they want to succeed?
Well, if they don't want their mind to explode, they should probably stop social media. Right. So that's one thing. And I've watched the whole evolution of in the family, right? From my kids scrolling for an hour every morning when they first wake up, who are pretty extensive users, but now they see now that it's an idealized view of the world.
Sure.
It isn't reality. And so they've decreased their usage of it. And I have as well. But oddly enough, suddenly my wife, who avoided it for the last 10 years, suddenly has an Instagram account, and she's flipping through there, and I'm going like, yep, that's there it is again, right? You get into it. It is addictive, and that isn't a good thing. It's bad for humans in so many ways, but particularly because we lose the intimate connection between humans. And that's the biggest thing that has resulted in a huge increase in suicides and in depression and anxiety. And so, that's one thing where I go, did it really do any good? I know for sure it did a lot of harm to a lot of people, and I have one of my best friends, his son committed suicide.
Sorry,
and it was just tragic. And it's it's one more pressure for kids in particular that they don't need to really handle. And so that's kind of like, I don't know, the benefits and the risks. I think the risks outweigh the benefits of it.
I just think it's such a great opinion. I couldn't agree more. I'm on Instagram, not on Facebook. I think Facebook is the real darkest place because humans we didn't know, we have this tool, call it a tool, social media. We don't have good boundaries. So, hey, here's what I like.
Well, and it's not designed for good boundaries.
Correct.
Like if you talk to the founding programmers, like it was intentionally designed to be addictive and to capitalize on your dopamine addiction. Correct. Yeah. So, just two recommendations, Norm, because I think bringing awareness of this is such a critical thing.
Oh, yeah.
The Anxious Generation, incredible book about this phenomena, and then The Coddling of the American Mind. And I don't know why it's named that, but it's not just the American mind being coddled. It's all minds. Social media is a huge problem.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's not that it doesn't have anything valuable. It's just that the way it's designed, the hurt outweighs the help.
You better jump in with a question, Cass, because I'm going to go off about things I don't like about social media.
We could spend an hour on that alone, right? So.
That's right. Well, and when you cut social media out, you have a lot more time for your big goals, Norm. So what are your biggest goals?
So, my goal is that, Capstone has been a passion project for me, and it's basically my penance for the two companies that became multi-billion-dollar companies in a few years. This is now the penance for that. It's like I have to suffer for years, trying to make this, to wait till get the product right, wait till the timing is right, etc. So the goal is to actually make this a standard within the hospitality business. This is a big hole they have in their businesses. They're leaking money across the bar with beer and liquor in way bigger volumes. In other words, there's so much waste, they would never accept this amount of waste in any other part of their business. It's really eye-popping, and when I show it to them, they see, oh my God, I can't believe it, right? So the goal is really to put Capstone on. Now that we have the right product, we have gone through pilots. Those pilots are converting into rollouts with some of the larger hospitality groups. That's where, we're still probably 2 years away from the laggards saying, hey, I really need this too. So we're working with early adopters. I'm a big believer in, Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. and all the good things. He's a brilliant guy, and he's defined for tech companies exactly how things would evolve, right? Should evolve. And so that's my goal, is to get this adopted, to move from the early adopters to more of the early mainstream adopters. And when that happens, the company's going to be really big, and it's going to be an industry standard, and will be in all the leading, every bar you walk into is going to have, these on the bottles, right? So these little, this is the brains of the device. Nobody notices it on the bottle. It's got a cork and a chrome tip nozzle and this this sensor, which is, we call the module, the electronics module. And every brand has its own label, and it's a game changer.
Yeah. Two things I thought of when you were talking. One is Philip Crosby in, I don't know, probably in the 70s, wrote a book called Quality is Free. And when you think about waste, your tool actually doesn't cost anything. Instead, it's recovering money. So is there an investment? Project. Sure, but it actually is an investment in increased revenue, right? And so that modern kind of quality movement, the TQM movement back when it started, he's like a founder of that. And that was like a kind of the aha moment. And that in your sharing is, there is so much revenue for these hotels to keep. And when they keep it, like, the quality of life for their employees goes up, for their patrons, like, being more financially solvent and keeping margins so that, you can provide a better experience. There's like a lot of benefit, and it doesn't cost anything because it pays for itself.
Yeah, it pays for itself within a few months, right? Yeah. So the benefit, so yes, it improves profitability greatly, but they're hospitality companies, so they reinvest in the guest, right? So this frees up a lot of cash that's disappearing, over the bars, and if that they can redeploy it in other places, and that's a huge benefit for them. So,
the other thing I'm always thinking of, like, how could small businesses benefit from this? And it's almost like I was thinking about partnership programs, like, because you integrate with Clover and with Square,
Agilysys and Oracle Micros and Square, all the big POS players. We run into them, and my team integrates with them. And so it's really seamless for
it's almost like they need to offer like capped on control in a box, right? Like, here, we noticed your recipe that you just created, or your like order has 6 liquors. Here's your capped on package. So
I love it. There's so many ways this can go. I'm just trying to get it launched, and certainly the value proposition for these larger groups is, for every $1 million that they generate in revenue for liquor, for every 25 million they generate, we can save them $1 million to $1.5 million, which right now is people would kill for. So
yeah, that's a big chunk.
Cass, do you want to ask about seeing around corners?
No, I asked that already.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I asked it early.
Okay, gotcha. Well, then I'm going to ask, I'll cut all that out, Norm, but what I just asked. But what I will ask you is, what's the riskiest decision you've made, and how did it pay off?
Yeah, so let's back up to March of 2020. All right, we had just introduced the new generation of product in December of 2019, and we had bought a bunch of inventory, and we had a number of customers who were interested, and we were installed in a whole bunch of places, right? So all around the world, actually. And so April and May and June of 2020, I got cancellations from 90% of our, because we're hospitality, right? We're hotels, casinos, bars, restaurants, hotels, and sports venues. And so they said, hey, nobody's coming in. I don't know when they're coming back in. Hotels went from 90% occupancy to like 5% occupancy. So they were worried about making their mortgage payments. So not surprisingly, they all canceled. And so I asked, well, okay, so should I call you back in a couple months? Once everybody gets back in, they go, call us back in 2025, right? And so this presented a risky, so should I just shut the company down, or should we actually reinvest and implement the full vision that I had for this product, right? And so all of us, the board, the investors, and all the employees said, let's go for it. Let's actually build what the market really needs, and what, from all the time we'd spent. That was a big risk, because there's been, a significant amount of money invested since then. And in 2024, we put pilots out of the refined. In 2025, we got our first orders, and now we're getting the follow-on orders, right? So that was, without a doubt, the riskiest thing, and that put a lot of capital on the table. And as I'm sitting here today, I can't tell you how that's going to pay out.
Norm, that's like the movie moment, right?
Yeah,
Like where you go to the board and you go, shut us down, and the whole company's watching, and you go, let's reinvest. That's a pretty spectacular risk.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting conversation. It was an interesting board meeting, right? Because I called an emergency board meeting and said, hey, I just got cancellations from 90% of these guys. We need, we don't have a business today, but here's what I think we should be doing. I go, I believe in this space. This is a multi-billion-dollar space worldwide, and just nobody understands it yet. It's a new thing for these guys, right? Because when you think about it, food margins are 20% if they do a good job. Beverage margins, if you do a terrible job, are 80%. So all the hospitality companies have defaulted to, what more can I do to help food? Well, food is what it is. You've invested for 20 years. Here's something else you ought to invest in that's going to deliver significant improvement to your profitability. And so how's that going to play out? Ask me in a year.
That's right. Well, then it comes to your third P, perseverance, right?
Right.
This is a 6-year investment essentially from 2022 now, and you're ready for it to pay dividends.
Yeah. Another way to think about it is we basically restarted the company in 2020, starting because we had no customers. Right? Well, some of them stuck with us through the whole thing, but very few. But it's a new company with an enhanced product, and then we're going after the same set of customers, and now some of them have come back. We had one come back a couple months ago, an iconic hotel in Los Angeles, the Bonaventure Hotel, had been with us for many years, for 8 years before COVID. COVID hit, got the call, said, okay, I get it, and they actually called me back in December of 2025 and said, our liquor costs went back up to where it was before COVID, before capped on, and we got to have you guys back in here again. So that's incredible validation.
Yeah,
that's a great validation, and all the new customers are, getting incredible. They're basically lowering their liquor costs by 30%.
Wow.
And so it's a big thing. Now we can repeat it. The gear can go in. They get benefit out of it in a couple months, and now there's no way they're going back to the old way, right? So in other words, we have proven how to break the bartender status quo, because the bartenders for 2,500 years, I can tell you the first beverage control device was invented by Pythagoras. Your A squared plus B squared equals C squared, brilliant inventor and kind of thinker and all that stuff. He invented what's called the Justice Cup, where if you fill it a little too much, it drains the whole thing out, right? And so, so it actually worked, and it was used, and it was, but the problem has never been addressed historically. And so here we are, we're going to do it. We're going to run with it.